Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Wrap Up Podcast. Guys, today is one of the important topics for me is cross-border payments. I've been doing media business and work with different brands across different regions, time zones, and countries. And for people who usually do international transfers, it seems easy, but for businesses, it's so complex. There is a fragmented rails, FX, compliance, and many more stuff involved in this. So today I want to dig deeper into this topic, and I am joined by David Messenger, CEO of Global Businesses at Pingpong Payments. David, great to have you on the show.
Morning, Sam. No, great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. David, for people who know the name but not the product, what does Pingpong actually do today? Let's say to help marketplaces, platforms, or people like me who do international business.
Yeah, so let me give you a very quick history of Pingpong. So Pingpong was founded almost 11 years ago, actually founded in New York. And originally it was founded to solve the problem for cross-border e-commerce sellers. And so if you're a Chinese Southeast Asian seller on Amazon, Walmart, eBay marketplace, how do you collect your funds? How do you move them back? Do the FX, manage your supplier payments, all of the complexity of running a business across different regions.
Right.
And we provided a solution for that. And that was the first wave of growth for the company. Having gone from there, I mean, the vision for the company has always been to solve the problem of cross-border business payments, to become the leading global business payments network. So starting with e-commerce, then it moved naturally into B2B trade rather than through a marketplace. You've got a business in Europe selling to LATAM or from China selling to US. Different set of challenges, more complex, more risk and compliance issues once you go outside a controlled marketplace.
Right.
So that was the second phase. And then the third phase was really moving into the enterprise space, providing custom solutions for enterprises. And that's really a lot of my focus now. So when we've become a global business, so we've now got over 40 offices around the world, almost 70 licenses around the world. And, the focus for the Western markets, US, UK, Europe in particular, is very much about solving the problems for enterprise customers who operate globally. And the a key part of our focus is that, we're not a company that just provides payment rails. We're a company that is a full stack solution, everything from multi-currency collections accounts around the world, multi-currency wallets, sophisticated FX, not just spot, forwards, hedging, full range of FX capabilities, payouts, obviously, issuing, acquiring. So we have been steadily and somewhat low profile, been building out a truly global business in terms of both the product capabilities, but also in terms of the geographic coverage. So we are one of the most global payment companies in the world today.
Right. I totally agree regarding the low profile because again, I came across you guys, a little while ago but I've been working in the industry for some time now. And what surprised me, you guys are already among 100 top international payment processors in the world.
Yeah.
That was really great surprise. One thing that you mentioned that caught my attention, you said the company was started in New York, but you immediately said we started with solutions for companies that are trading between China and the rest of the world. How I tied to China, and name also says like ping pong. And I also did my research, so maybe you guys are somehow tied to China as well. If you could go deeper in that part of things.
Yeah, so the founders are originally from China. They were working in the US. They saw the pain points, set up the business. As soon as it started to scale, they moved the headquarters back to China. So the group headquarters is in Hangzhou in China, beautiful place in China, not far from Shanghai, and a real tech center. It's where Alibaba came from, NetEase, a lot of the big Chinese tech companies. So that is the group headquarters. London is our sort of international / sort of global headquarters outside of China, focused on the Americas, UK, Europe, Middle East markets. So we started focused on Chinese businesses and with a market leader for e-commerce. And I think the sort of B2B trade from small to medium businesses in China. But now we are global, as I said, and we're done over 350 billion of volume. So, sometimes when I meet CEOs of companies, I hear the phrase, we're the largest payments company they've never heard of.
Right.
But I think our approach has always been, we focus on execution. We focus on doing. And rather than marketing, sponsoring Formula One teams, doing high profile activities. We focus on the execution and building out the foundation of the business, which is what we've been doing. Hence the 70 licenses, the offices, the capabilities we've been building. So for us, our focus has always been do it rather than
Right.
talk about it.
Right.
And now our profile is increasing because we're really, we're really ready. We're really scaling now in the international markets.
And you mentioned basically three phases of development, like e-com, B2B trade, and then enterprise.
Mm.
So if we talk about today, what kind of businesses is Pingpong best built for today? I mean, who are probably not your customers and who are your customers?
So the focus, as I said, really is on enterprise customers, and critically, what we look to do is create embedded finance solutions that are specific to the industry. You look at the travel industry, very different from the marketplace
Yeah.
industry, different from FIs, different from corporates managing supply chains. So we have the full set of capabilities. What we focus on is developing specific solutions for each industry.
Okay.
Every industry has different pain points, but I think there are some common themes, I would say, in general,
Right.
which is, fragmentation is a challenge. A lot of large enterprises and platforms have to put together a patchwork of payments providers to provide the range of capabilities and the geographic coverage they need. There's a lot
True.
of inefficiency in that. And also, critically, it's not just that, it makes them slower, it makes them less agile. Where their business changes, they've got to work through a whole network of payment partners. It slows them down. So our focus now, I would say there are certain key verticals we're particularly focused on. One is marketplaces. I would say we're probably the market leader in marketplace solutions, both supporting sellers and supporting marketplaces with their needs. And
Okay.
also, travel is a huge vertical for us, and we're investing a lot in that. I think logistics will be another one we get to focus on in the near term as well. So it's really looking to develop those embedded custom enterprise solutions
Okay.
for specific verticals.
Right. And could you please highlight a bit, specify a bit, what does embedded finance mean today? I mean, a couple of years ago, if I remember it correctly, it was like basically making things seamless, making the payments invisible. But what is it today for you?
It is those things. And I'll give you a specific example of kind of how it works. So, in the
Yes,
travel
please.
industry, we've got a major partner in the travel industry. And with the change in the technology and the platforms within the travel industry, the GDS model is changing to the NDS model. There's an opportunity for travel OTAs to do price arbitrage, where airlines' tickets will be priced differently in different regions of the world. So if you've got the
Okay.
right technology, you can actually find the best place to buy your plane ticket.
All right.
But the challenge there is how do you manage the FX? You can manage the payment, but what about the FX? So
True.
what we've done is created an embedded solution which embeds both payments and sophisticated FX, where we can embed the right FX solution. If there's a 7-day settlement period or a 14-day settlement period, embedded real time in the workflow for the OTA is the FX pricing that will be locked for that settlement period. They don't have complexity on the treasury side trying to hedge their FX risk. It's all built in seamlessly and efficiently into the user experience.
Right. I see. And I mean, you just mentioned that you are trying to again make the payments the seamless, but if you look at cross-border payments and flow end to end, which part is still way more manual than most, let's say, buyers realize actually?
I think when you look at cross-border payments, one of the key things that people lose sight of is
Yeah.
that the key to cross-border payments is compliance and risk. That is
Okay.
because when you look at domestic consumer payments, compliance and risk issues are actually much more straightforward. When you've got business payments going cross-border, this is where you have AML issues. This is where you have a lot more risk you have to manage.
Yeah.
And so the key there is how efficiently can you do two things? How efficiently can you really onboard KYC, KYB, do risk assessments on each individual customer, and to what extent you can automate that?
Yeah.
Second, then, is the transaction monitoring. How smart can you be on the transaction monitoring so that you can actually avoid the false positives where it's a legitimate payment, there are no issues, it goes through seamlessly.
Okay.
Obviously, always some that you've got to hold and you've got to verify additional details. But it's really about how smart and how automated can you make those two processes are critical elements. But it's maintaining those higher standards of compliance and risk. And interesting, in our headquarters building in Hangzhou, it's very symbolic. The foundational floor of our office
Okay.
is called Bedrock. And this is
Okay.
where all compliance and risk sits. And so this is just a core part of who we are, how we operate, is everything is based on compliance and risk is actually our differentiation. A lot of payments companies approach it as a necessary component, but
True.
as a heavy cost center. For us, we lead with this as our differentiation, our strength, because it's all about trust. Payments is always about trust. Cross-border business payments is trust and reliability.
I mean,
Speed is one part of that,
yeah,
but it's not like consumer payments where it's all about the instant payment. If you're loading your transactions into an ERP like SAP, it's going to be batch process anyway. The key is predictability,
true.
trust, predictability. And so
True.
speed is a part of it. We have local rails access around the world so we can do real-time payments, but it's really focusing on that.
David, you highlight compliance a lot, but compliance could be very complex, especially if you work across the regions, right? Because every country has their own requirements.
Yeah.
My question would be, did you guys build your, let's say, compliance framework or tools in-house, or do you rely on third-party providers?
We do both. So there are things we build in-house. We're doing a lot of work with AI nowadays, obviously, as are many other players, as
Okay.
that's got a key role to play in compliance and risk. We also work with a range of third-party specialist tools.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they do, and we plug them in as part of our suite. But we
True.
really look for if there's a best-in-class third-party solution, great. If it's something we can do better ourselves, we do it.
Yeah.
But the key is, you mentioned operating across regions. You've got different financial regulations, different
Uh-huh.
regions. You've also got different data regulations,
True.
increasingly is an issue. So we've had to invest a lot in actually creating a much more federated data architecture so that data stays in the region where the customer is,
Mm-hmm.
rather than exporting data across borders, which I think is going to be a continuing trend in the years ahead.
I totally agree regarding the data because again, originally I am from Uzbekistan. I recently moved to the UK, and one of the things Uzbekistan is also doing, they are making a requirement for the companies international companies that come to the country to ensure that the personal data, especially personal data,
Yep.
stays within the country. That's why I totally agree on that point. David, one thing I like doing on my podcast is that company versus company. I also would love to understand because um, Pingpong is among 100 top international payment processors, but there is 99 more, right? So
Yep.
I would love to understand your mode. So what's Pingpong's mode that would still matter today if the pricing was not a problem? What do you think?
So I think there are a couple of things. One is, as I mentioned, it is the geographic coverage, the investment we've made in building out our own license network
Okay.
around the world, and that's critical. So that, for example, that's enabled us to do real-time 24/7 payments around the world for years.
Yeah.
Everyone now is very focused on blockchain stablecoins. We've been doing real-time 24/7 for years because we've got that global network. So funds hit our network at any point. As soon as it hits our network, we can pay it out at another point in our network by
Right.
managing our global liquidity.
Right.
So, so that is one. Build investment in building our own infrastructure globally.
Okay.
Another would be actually developing the banking partnerships we have. So we have very, very strong banking partnerships with really all of the tier one banks. I think we're up to 200 banking partners now. But particularly with the tier one banks, that really gives us the right infrastructure support to enable our business, and they have confidence in us. We go through obviously very rigorous reviews with them in terms of our compliance and risk, and we see ourselves as very much a tier one financial institution,
Okay.
but we increasingly look like a bank. We participate directly in the payment schemes, SEPA, FPS, BACS, CHAPS, and that's going to continue. But we see, I think what I see is the distinction between bank and fintech is going to change. And I
Okay.
think increasingly there's going to be consolidation in the cross-border payment space.
Right.
And the key thing is going to be, are you tier one from a compliance and risk point of view, or are you not?
All
And
right.
the type of partnerships we have with banks are going to change, because if you're in that group, then the banks want to work with you and partner with you. And that's certainly where we are, and that's where our focus is. So I think the banking partnerships set us apart as well. And also, I think when it comes to the product set we have, I think there are a couple of things I would highlight. One is the multi-currency collections accounts around the world. There are a lot of large payments processors who will do the payouts globally.
Okay.
The collections is much more complex and more challenging, and that's also where the banking partnerships come to the fore, them being willing to support us doing that multi-currency collections accounts around the world. So
Okay.
cross-border trade is about collecting and paying out.
Yeah.
And if you've only got one half, that's not as strong as having both. The
Sure.
other is the FX capabilities we have, which spot FX rates, obviously you've got to be competitive on those. But as that example I mentioned in travel, you've got to have the full range of FX capabilities that you can
Mhm.
customize for different industry use cases
Yeah.
to really stand out and solve their problems.
Right. And I want to touch this topic because you briefly mentioned that, and it sounded like it does not matter for you, at least, guys. Stable coins. So every cross-border transaction processor provider, they're talking about stable coins in one way or another. So what's your opinion and what's your position on that? I mean, as a company.
So our position has always been very clear in the sense that
Okay.
we will use all technologies that provide the best solutions.
All right.
Stablecoins, blockchain clearly have potential and value. So we will, and we are engaging in exploring how to use stablecoins, but we
Okay.
only move into it once the legal and regulatory framework is clear. Obviously, in the last year or so, that has moved forward fast. In the US, Genius Act, state licenses being able to include use of stablecoins, MiCA regulations in Europe.
Yeah.
So we are moving into it where it is very clearly defined from a legal and compliance point of view,
Okay.
in line with our ethos around compliance and risk.
Right.
I think the use cases are still emerging. People focus on the huge volume of stablecoin transactions, but when you break that down and break out things that are related to crypto, which we don't touch, and you break out the things that are really retail,
Okay.
consumers holding USD in the form of stablecoins without a US bank account.
Yeah.
Um, and then, so on the B2B side, the use cases I would still say are still starting to emerge. And so far, a lot of that has been south-south trade, where maybe both local currencies have more volatility and using stable coins has some extra value.
Right.
There are some markets where people look to use stable coin to avoid currency controls, which is a different set of issues.
Yeah.
But so I think we are engaged. We are exploring it. We will move forward with it and use it. And clearly, there are ways it can be used very efficiently in terms of our internal treasury and liquidity management, just internally as well. So I certainly expect. We offer multi-currency wallets to our customers
Yeah.
at any currency they need.
Yeah.
We will, I'm sure, in the future, offer the ability to hold stable coins as well.
So you basically are exploring stablecoins or blockchain technology cautiously because again, I have not seen any mention of it on your website just yet.
Yeah.
Just yet, as you said, maybe you guys are coming to this, but it's not just there yet. And going back to the mode, you mentioned a few things like licenses, partnerships with tier one banks, multi-currency accounts, and etc. So, I mean, what do you think if there was a fintech company, well-funded fintech company that launches in the market tomorrow, what they cannot replicate that you guys built and took you several years to build?
At the end of the day, look, everything can always be replicated. If you have enough
Okay.
time and money, you can replicate anything.
All right.
To replicate what we've built will take a lot of time.
Okay.
So the ability to get the licenses, that is a long cycle investment and takes serious investment to establish that sort of license coverage.
Mm-hmm.
Product capabilities are easier to replicate, especially now with AI. One of the things we see is that AI is really going to have a dramatic impact in terms of coding, in terms of
Okay.
the ability to generate products fast. We've done tests internally on that already, and it's quite dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
I think the other thing that's very hard to replicate is the banking relationships. Those are built up over years. They're based on trust, demonstrated capabilities, and confidence in the strength of compliance and risk,
Okay.
understanding long-term strategy. One of the advantages we've had compared to many other fintechs is we've actually been profitable for many years. And
Mm.
the challenge a lot of payments companies have is they get caught in the need to chase revenue, and chasing revenue typically in payments means you're chasing higher risk flows. And we always have taken the long term view. We're building this for a sustainable, successful business. We
Okay.
don't chase the high risk flows, and we haven't needed to because we've
Okay.
been profitable for many years.
Right. So you guys do not work with high risk industry.
No,
Okay.
we
Okay.
avoid the high
I
risk
see.
areas.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And you briefly mentioned about the bank fintech relationship. So what do you think? Where do banks still have advantage, let's say, in cross-border payments, and where fintechs clearly are better, in your opinion?
So banks, banks have when you're dealing with a major enterprise, a
Okay.
global enterprise, they will have core banking relationships, and there is a trust and confidence that they will have with a tier one global bank that they will not have with a fintech, uh,
Okay.
frankly. And they also the key part of that relationship is the lending relationship. And so that is sort of a very strong anchor in those relationships. We're not a depository institution. We don't
Okay.
expect to be. So we don't replicate those things. What
Mm.
we provide is global coverage. When you look at, there are very few banks who really can claim to be global in their coverage. We provide global coverage. We
Hmm.
provide the full stack of product capabilities. And critically, we are very, very agile. And
Okay.
so I think what I see that's really interesting, and recently we've won a partnership opportunity with a very, very large global enterprise
Okay.
who, after doing an RFP, actually decided they wanted one of the tier one banks and us to co-develop a solution for them because they could recognize it. Enterprise customers are smart. They recognize banks are very essential in some capabilities, but they don't have all capabilities. And if you can create a hybrid of bank capabilities and a tier one fintech like us, then that gives you the best solution. So I
Right.
think this is where I'm excited. I think this is where sort of the bank fintech relationships are going to evolve and change rather than, fintechs being the customer of the banks, using their infrastructure or vice
Mm.
versa in some cases. This is really co-developing solutions for industry verticals,
I see.
which is a
And
really exciting development.
David, you also mentioned that banks also provide the lending, which you guys don't do. Does that mean in that case, I mean, not only you, if we talk about fintech bank relationship, that banks in the future will be the balance sheet providers and fintechs will be actually the front end, the product providers? Do you think this theory is correct?
I wouldn't say it's quite as simple as that, but there's definitely
Okay.
truth in that. Yes, I mean,
Okay.
fintechs will not do what banks do in that regard.
I see. I
Banks
see.
will never be as agile on the product development and developing custom solutions that large enterprises increasingly want.
Right. And you also mentioned that you want a big enterprise and that enterprise wants you and tier one bank to co-develop a solution for them. Does it mean that you do, I mean, a development for your customers? It's not like that you have a solution and sell it, but you also do particularly a development for like a certain type of customers or chosen customers.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have, if you think about it, we have a comprehensive suite of APIs because this is
Mm-hmm.
all really about embedded
Mm-hmm.
solutions. We've got a comprehensive suite of APIs.
Okay.
What we do is we will work with an enterprise partner and develop the custom way to use those APIs
Okay.
provides the most value to them. Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
Right. And you also mentioned AI, of course, and everyone is talking about AI. Yesterday, I had a podcast episode with a partner from A16Z,
Okay.
and we also were discussing agentic commerce. And my question would be like, if everybody's talking AI, where do you think AI will create a real operating leverage in cross-border payments? Where is the value with the AI actually?
So I think there are a couple of examples. I mean, one I touched on already, which is compliance and risk.
Okay.
AI can be used for good or for bad. Clearly, there's been a huge explosion in synthetic identities being created by bad actors. We are using AI to stay ahead of any bad actor in terms of tightening up, being smarter, and more effective in managing the onboarding process, transaction monitoring process. So
Okay.
that's an essential one. Second one I touched on already is how we can actually move much faster using AI. So if you look at the tech giants, they've had a huge advantage until now in the sense that they've had effectively sort of unlimited engineering resource. So
Yeah.
whatever they want to build, they can build.
Yes.
Companies like us, one of our limiting factors has been the amount of engineering resource we have. So we're always having to prioritize and have the roadmap saying, here are all the things we want to do. Which do we do first? Which
Yeah.
second? Which third? With the productivity gains of AI coding, we did an internal test on that recently, which showed dramatic improvements in productivity in terms of how fast we can build products leveraging AI coding. So for us, it's a huge opportunity in terms of being even more agile, developing more custom products faster, and
Right.
therefore staying ahead in the market.
I see. So two cases, like one is compliance and the risk, and the another one is productivity internally, right?
Yeah.
And so you definitely see value in AI. What do you think? Where the customers will feel it? Is it only in compliance and risk, or do you think there are any other areas where the customers will feel the AI made the cross-border transactions easier?
So compliance and risk, obviously, I think, as I mentioned, the agility. So if we've got a
Yeah.
large enterprise who needs a custom solution, we can deliver it even faster with AI.
Okay.
So that's a second
Right.
clear one. The third one would be one of the things we're focused on right now is using AI to develop a much smarter routing. Obviously, we have local access to local rails around the world as what we're a member of SWIFT. We have every permutation in terms of payment rails available.
Okay.
And developing smart routing for this customer, what are their priorities in terms of speed versus cost, other issues. And so therefore we can actually, again, optimize the way in which we're using our capabilities to get those payments done, meeting the criteria that are most important to each client.
Right. And David, you worked in the industry for some time now. I want my audience to learn from your experience as well. So you worked at Amex,
Yep.
Lillian, and now Pingpong. So one question I had is that what belief about payments do you hold today that you didn't hold 10 years ago?
Um, I think payments today it's a great place to be. There
Right.
is
Right.
10 years ago, it was still a great place to be, but things were not moving as fast as they are today.
Okay.
The speed of change, we've spoken about AI, we've spoken about stablecoin, we've spoken about regulations changing, data regulations changing. There are so many parameters for cross-border payments that are changing at the same time.
Yeah.
This is a much more complex, faster moving environment than it was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, it was great. The market was developing for fintechs and it was earlier stage. Now I think we're at a stage where everyone can see this is a huge market. Fintechs have developed capabilities and have a very strong role to play. They don't replace banks, but it is a collaboration with banks. So I think that has changed a lot over the last 10 years as well. So overall, I would say, this is the best time in my career for
Right.
being in payments.
Right. And David, my last question actually is what should we expect from Pingpong in the next 3 to 5 years? What products are you guys developing?
Uh, so I think it's really not so much which products, it's really
Okay.
which solutions.
All right.
We have the broad set of payments capabilities, so end to end.
Right.
For us, it's really about going industry by industry, vertical by vertical, really understanding the pain points, the inefficiencies, how payments can improve their business model, increase their revenue, increase their customer stickiness, improve their operational efficiency. So it's really about us becoming not just known as a payments company, but
Hmm.
as the payments company that is the travel leader, that is the marketplace leader, is the
Okay.
logistics leader, and actually combine the industry expertise with the payments expertise.
Right. David, really enjoyed this episode and thank you for coming on the show and unpacking for us how cross-border payments work. And thank you very much again.
No, thank you, Sam. It's great to be here.
For everyone watching this episode, if you liked it, I will see you in the next one.